It would be like a birthday cake with no candles. Ooh!
Or a beautiful summer evening without the sunset.
Or like doing this show without my big sister.
A world without pickles just wouldn't be any fun.
If you made a pickle, cause there's nothing left to spread. Got a kitchen full of people and there's nothing in your head. We've got all the answers, got a lot for you in store. Pickle, sausage, chutney, jelly, jams, and more. Put a lid on it, put a lid on it. There's just nothing in the world you can't preserve. Put a lid on it, put a lid on it. And sit back and get the praise that you deserve.
Today's show is one that we would get an awful lot of mail about if we omitted it, because who can think pickles without thinking dill? It's a staple of the vegetable preserving domain. Welcome to Put a Lid on It.
The show that takes the ancient art of preserving and makes it fast, fun, and inexpensive. Now this show is going to focus on making perfect, flavorful, crunchy pickles every time. And we're going to give you a twist on the pickle theme. We're going to show you how to make pickled jalapeno chili peppers, curried pickle slices, pickled peppers,
and fast and easy garlic dills. All these great recipes are coming up, so you're not going to want to miss our show on pickle perfection.
It is guaranteed a dilly.
Great recipes coming up, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Jane and I are going to give you two great pickle recipes. The first one's called Fast Favorite Garlic Dills, and it is Jane's favorite. And I'm going to give you curried pickle slices, and this one has a really nice curry kick. So Jane's going to tell you about her Fast Favorite Garlic Dills, how to prepare your brine, and I'm going to tell you how to prepare the cucumbers.
Well, we're going to start with 8 to 10 small cucumbers, or about 3 pounds. Now, we've chosen to quarter them, but you can leave them whole if you can find small enough. Now, we also need 4 sprigs of fresh dill, or if you don't want to use fresh dill, you can also use dill seed, or you can even use the heads of fresh dill. So we need 4 of those, and also 4 small cloves of garlic. Now, we like garlic, so we decided to put in 4 large heads. But depending on what you like, or not heads, sorry, cloves, you can slice them and just use a smaller portion if you like, but we like them big. 1½ cups of white vinegar, 1½ cups of water, and 1½ tablespoons of pickling salt. Now we're using pickling salt for pickles instead of ordinary table salt because it's not iodized and it doesn't contain the anti-caking agent that's found in other table salt.
And if you use table salt, it could make your pickles cloudy.
That's right. Now Jennifer's going to talk about how we prepare the cucumbers.
Okay, our cucumbers have a stem end and a blossom end. We are going to remove both ends because sometimes it's hard to tell which is the blossom end, and that blossom contains an enzyme that can make your pickles go soft if you don't remove it. So we've cut the ends off and we've already quartered them. So Jane's going to get her brine ready, and I'm going to get the jars ready. I'm going to pack them up for you.
Well, I also want to say there's nothing worse than a soft pickle.
Well,
so I take my 1½ cups of water, 1½ cups of vinegar, and my pickling salt. And what you do is take this to the stove and dissolve your salt. Now we have one that we've already prepared here. Jennifer's going to pack her jars, and then as soon as she's done, I'll bring the brine over. Okay?
Okay, so I'm going to drop a clove of garlic and a sprig of dill into our jar. Now we took our jars out of our boiling water bath and they're hot. They haven't really been sterilized, but we want them hot. Now it's easier if you lay the jar on its side and then you can put your cucumber slices in it. And it makes it a nice tight fit, and then you don't have a lot of brine compared to the amount of pickles you have in there, and there's nothing really floating around. It's nice and compact. So Jane's got her brine. And we're only going to put 1 jar of cucumbers right now, but we have enough for 4 1-pint jars.
That's right, and both these recipes must be processed in your water bath for
10 minutes.
That's right.
So I've got that ready for you.
And so we're going to do both of them together, the processing together. I'll get a jar filler.
And I'll hold it. Now try not to overdo it.
I'll try not to, so I've spilled the odd time.
Sometimes on me.
Now you see, this really is a fast recipe, and we can guarantee it will become your favorite too.
There we go.
And we're leaving 1-inch headspace at the top. I'm going to wipe the rim. Oh, first I'll let you do that. Sorry, you can explain maybe.
We put our plastic spatula in between the glass and the cucumbers, and that removes any air that's in the jar. Now sometimes, if there's quite a bit of air, you might have to adjust the headspace or the amount of liquid that's in your jar. So that's fine.
That was
I'm
a
rolling.
good recovery there. Now I'm going to wipe the rim, which we always do.
And
remove any
get our
stickiness.
lid. While you're getting the lid on, I'm going to remove this so we can get ready for my curried pickle slices.
Now this is our snap lid. They've been simmering for 5 minutes, gently on the stove. I'm going to take our screw band, place it on just fingertip tight, and I'm going to set this aside till Jennifer's done our curried pickle recipe, and we'll process both of them together. Now doesn't that look great? Oh, and Jennifer, you might want to mention about the garlic.
All right. After a period of time, you might notice a change in the color of the garlic. It might go a blue-green or any variation of blue and green. Now that's because of the reaction of the acid in the vinegar on the pigment in the garlic. Did I say that right?
5. I'm impressed.
Okay, so for our curried pickle slices, we need the following. I could use...
A big pot.
Exactly. Okay, so for this recipe, we need 2 quarts of cucumbers. Now, that's about 8 cups, and we need 4 small onions. We slice all of this, and we take, could I have the pickling salt?
Yes, you could.
Okay, we have how much? 1 tablespoon of pickling salt that we sprinkle over top of the cucumbers. We let that sit overnight, and then the next morning we rinse and drain them twice. Now, we've already done that. For our brine, we're going to use 2 cups of cider vinegar, 1 1/3 cups of sugar, 2 tablespoons of curry, 1 tablespoon of curry, and 2 teaspoons of pickling spice. I'm having a hard time with that, aren't I?
You are, and you did so well with the pigment and the garlic thing.
I know, and then we use 1 teaspoon each of mustard seed and celery seed. That is brought to a boil on the stove. Away you go.
And we might say, we'll give you those recipes later, just in case we confuse you a little bit.
Okay.
Is that one ready?
Yes, this one is. So after it's brought to a boil, we put our cucumber and onion back into the pot, and that's returned to the stove to bring it to a boil. We only want to return it to a boil. We don't want to cook the cucumbers and onions. So that's all we do is just return it to a boil, and then we're ready to take a slotted spoon, and I'm going to get a jar because that will only take a second. And
it's almost ready, so.
We ladle out our cucumber and onion and put that in our jar first. And then after we have it packed, we're going to put the brine over top. So Jane, whisk on over here. After we have this all done, as with our other recipe, we're going to process them for 10 minutes. That's okay, I can get this in.
Yes, and the reason we do this is, did you already say that?
Yes.
Oh.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
You can.
The reason we do this is we want all of our cucumbers in, and then we pour our brine over so that we have a jar full of pickles and not just liquids. So we're going to process both this and that, this and that, easy fast favorite garlic dills and the curried pickle slices
For 10 minutes.
10 minutes in our water bath canner. We'll be right back.
On today's craft segment, I'm going to show you how to make some great little bags to put your preserves in. Now I have 2 types of material here. I have burlap and I also have muslin. Now I'm going to show you on the muslin, but we're going to show you the finished product on the burlap as well. We took a rectangle of material, cut it out. It doesn't have to be exact edges because you're going to fold them over. Fold it in half, and that tells you just about how high your bag is going to be. If you have a little small jar of preserves, you might not want your bag to be really high, so you can adjust the height as you need it. Now the next thing we're going to do, I'll move that aside, is we're going to do all around our edges. I folded the edges over and glued them down with a hot glue gun. Our last step is to take the material, fold it again in half, and this is what's going to form your bag. So we glue this down. And you can glue it a little bit at a time, or you can glue the whole side. The glue takes very little time to set up. So you press your sides down and you hold it. Now if you have a little bit of extra glue that seeps out over the side, don't worry about it, because once it hardens, you can take your scissors and just snip it off. And it still gives you a really nice edge. So this is basically what it looks like when it's finished, but I do have one that's complete. Now this bag is all done, and you can see it's strong, it'll hold a jar of preserves. And we've taken some fabric paint and a stencil and just did a little design. Now my jar is going to go in, and I'm going to take a bit of braided cord and just tie it off really nicely. And that's all there is to that. And you can reuse these bags for a million different things. So what you see on this one, on our burlap, we've drawn a little picture with our acrylic paint. So see how easy that was? Didn't take any time at all, and it is beautiful.
We've got two great pepper recipes. The first is a multicolored ginger pickled pepper, and the second one is
Pickled jalapeno chili peppers.
That's right. Now this first recipe has to be stood overnight in the fridge. So first I'll go over our pepper ingredients. We take 1 green pepper, 1 yellow pepper, and 1 red pepper. We slice them and take the seeds out. We take 2 jalapeno chili peppers, and we slice them a little differently. We slice those crosswise, and we also take the seeds out. And this is 2 pieces of 1-inch ginger root that we peeled and sliced very thinly.
For our brine, we need 1 cup of rice vinegar, we need 1 cup of water, and 2 tablespoons of sugar and a teaspoon of pickling salt. We're going to put that all into a bowl and mix it well because we want to make sure that our sugar is dissolved. So that is going to be mixed up. Now the reason we use pickling salt
is because ordinary table salt is iodized. It has iodine in it, and it also has an anti-caking ingredient. So we don't want either of that. We want to use pure pickling salt.
That's right. Now she mentioned that before, but it's a good point. So after I have that mixed, I'm going to add our peppers and our jalapeno and our ginger. I'm going to mix that up a little bit, and then I'm going to cover it and refrigerate it for 24 hours. Our ginger doesn't want to come out of the bowl.
Now this recipe is great as an accompaniment to meat. It's also really nice with a salad, and it looks beautiful.
All on its own. So I'm going to take the cover off this one I already have prepared and put the plastic wrap on our bowl. You can set that aside.
Okay, now this would go in the refrigerator for
24 hours.
Okay.
Our next step is after it's been refrigerated, we're going to pour the brine off because we're going to reheat that on the stove. And I'm going to take the peppers and put them in hot jars that we've had in our hot water or boiling water bath. So Jane's going to take that to the stove. I'm going to get the bottle.
And Jennifer uses that "we" word a lot. We're going to take it to the stove. Here, Jane, do that.
This recipe makes 4 1-pint jars. I'm only going to be filling 1 of them, but you'll notice there's quite a few peppers left over. Otherwise, we'd run out of time and you wouldn't get to see Jane's jalapeno chili pepper recipe. So I'm going to put all of this in, trying to make sure that I grab a little bit of the ginger and the jalapeno.
There's your brine.
Now it's important that when we put the brine over top, that we fill it to within 1/2 inch of the top rim, and that is very important. There's one last step that we're going to have to after we put the brine on it. Do you want to tell them about that?
I don't know what it is. No, of course I do. We're going to wipe our rim, but before we do that, with all of our pickle recipes today, we're going to take a spatula after we've poured in our brine, and we're going to run it down the sides to remove any air bubbles.
And what do you want to give me?
Oh, don't ask me that. What would I like to give you?
Okay, we're going to pour our brine into the jar. Jane's going to watch my level so that I don't overdo it. And we're going to put a spatula in between the pepper and the jar.
Good.
And that's going to remove any air bubbles that we might have in the jar. We might have to readjust the headspace or the amount of liquid, but this looks pretty good.
You notice Jennifer's sort of pushing the peppers down so that everything is covered by the liquid. Here you go. Wipe your rim.
I'm going to wipe the rim. Jane's going to put the snap lid on.
Now our snap lid again was boiling gently here, and I'm going to put it back because I want all our snap lids to remain hot. I'm going to give her a screw band. We're going to put it on fingertip tight. Now this recipe has to be processed for 15 minutes, and my chili pepper recipe is only processed for 10. So I'm going to place this in my hot water bath.
And I'm going to get her recipe ready. I'm going to remove some things.
And I'm using this. This is a great thing. It's a jar lifter. So I'm placing it in, and you always want your water to be 1 inch over the top of your jar. Now sometimes if you've been doing a lot of pickling, your water will evaporate, so you just add a little more so that it always covers the top of the jar. Now, for my recipe. This is a real favorite with our family. My youngest daughter, Carolyn, loves jalapeno peppers, so we have to make a lot of this because everybody really likes it. Now, go ahead.
I was going to say, you can adjust the amount of heat that you have in your peppers by either adding a Scotch bonnet. I don't like mine as hot as Jane's, so I reserve a little slice of red pepper, and then I know that's my jar, and we don't get mixed up.
Now, what we did, we took the seeds out of our jalapeno peppers, and of course, we wore a rubber glove when we did this, because jalapeno peppers are so hot, the juice can get onto your hands, and it will stay there for a long time, and it will definitely burn. So you always want to wear a glove. Now, the ingredients for our brine, we have 1 cup of cider vinegar, 1/4 cup of water, 4 teaspoons of liquid honey, 2 teaspoons of pickling spice, 1/2 teaspoon of pickling salt, and the garlic is reserved to go into our jar. So I'm going to pour our vinegar.
And I'm going to get our jar. How many does this make, Jane?
This makes 3 half-pint jars. Did I just poke you there?
You did, but you do that a lot.
But I poked you gently because this is TV. Not like I usually poke you.
Okay, so I'm going to put our jalapenos in the jar, and I'm going to wear the glove because I don't want the juice to get on my skin.
Now with this recipe, with this brine, I'm going to take it to the stove, bring it to a boil, and then you want it to stand for 10 minutes. Voila, I have one already.
And I'm going to put 1/2 clove of garlic in the bottom of my jar, and I'm going to use my jar filler because it keeps me from making a mess and spilling the jalapenos all over. And I'm pushing them down a little bit because I want to pack the jar as full as I can. And I'm going to put another 1/2 clove of garlic on the top. And I didn't put your habanero in there.
Oh, can I have my jar filler?
You may. One jar filler.
As we said, this is going to be processed for 10 minutes in your hot water bath.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
And you need a lid. So this is great. Have you got your lid?
I've got the lid, but hey.
Wipe the rim. Very important. So we're going to put that on, center it, and then put our screw band on, just fingertip tight. We'll be putting it in our water bath process for 10 minutes.
So both of these recipes are really easy, and what we really want you to remember is they're fast, and you can process them and keep them on your shelves for up to a year. Today we're going to talk about the boiling water bath. You know, when Jennifer and I first learned preserving from our mother, she didn't seem to care if she used the new snap lids. She didn't necessarily use a boiling water bath. I guess she didn't really care if she killed anybody. Well, we care. We're very sanitary. We always want you to use the safe precautions. And now it is always recommended that you process any of your preserves in a boiling water bath. And if you have a boiling water bath, maybe it looks a little better than mine, but I've had this for years, and although those producers did say they'd spring for a new pot, I said, hey, this one may have a few cracks, a few wrinkles, a few rust spots. It's a little bit like me, but you're still using me, so we're still using the old pot. Now for your boiling water bath, I'm sure you've seen us use it every time on our show. Here's our wire rack underneath. It is a little rusty in there. But what you want to do is place your preserves in your wire rack. Now, there are 2 ways of doing this. This fits up here wonderfully. If you're making something that has, say, 5 or 6 bottles, then they fit in well, and it keeps it nice and even. Then you can lower your rack in. If you're doing a small batch of preserves and you maybe only have 2 jars, that's when you want to use your jar lifter. You place both your jars in, then you fill, make sure you have at least 1 inch of water covering the top of your jars. Put your cover back on. Bring your water back to a boil, and that's when you start timing. Now, if you don't happen to have a boiling water bath, and you don't think maybe you have room to store one, well, this is a great alternative. This is just an ordinary pot, and I took some screw bands, tied them together with some twist ties, and what happens is this becomes a boiling water bath. The reason you want something on the bottom is you don't want your jars to touch the bottom of the pot, and you also don't want them to touch each other. So place them carefully in, but this will work just as well. Just make sure you have at least 1 inch of water covering the top. And Mom, sorry about that comment about the paraffin, but hey, we know it's true. I'm glad we've converted you to the boiling water bath. For fast favorite garlic dills, you will need 8 to 10 small pickling cucumbers, 4 heads of fresh dill or 4 teaspoons of dried dill seed, 4 small cloves of garlic, 1½ cups of white vinegar, 1½ cups of water, 1½ tablespoons of pickling salt. Slice and discard 1/16 of an inch from the ends of each cucumber. Place 1 head of fresh dill or 1 teaspoon of dill seed and 1 clove of garlic into each jar. Pack in cucumbers. Combine vinegar, water, and salt in a saucepan and bring to a boil. Pour boiling vinegar mixture to cover your cucumbers to within 1/2 inch of the top rim.
For curry dill slices, you'll need 2 quarts of pickling cucumbers, 4 small onions sliced, 1 tablespoon of pickling salt, 2 cups of cider vinegar, 1 1/3 cups of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of curry powder, 2 teaspoons of pickling spice, and 1 teaspoon of celery seed and mustard seed. Cut your cucumbers into thick slices, place in a bowl, and sprinkle with the salt. Let stand for 24 hours, drain, and rinse twice. Combine your dried ingredients in a saucepan, bring to a boil, add your cucumbers, and return to a boil. Remove from heat. Remove your vegetables from the liquid with a slotted spoon and pack into jars. Pour the liquid over vegetables and process for 10 minutes.
For our pepper recipe, you will need 1 sweet green pepper, 1 sweet red pepper, and 1 sweet yellow pepper sliced lengthwise, 2 jalapeno chili peppers seeded and thinly sliced, 2 1-inch pieces of ginger root peeled and thinly sliced, 1 cup of rice vinegar, 1 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and 1 teaspoon of pickling salt. Place all peppers and ginger root in a shallow bowl. Combine your sauce ingredients and stir well to dissolve. Pour over peppers, cover, and refrigerate overnight. The next day, drain your liquid from peppers and pack your peppers into jars. Bring your drained liquid to a boil over high heat, pour over peppers, and process for 15 minutes.
For your peppers, you'll need 1 cup of cider vinegar, 1/4 cup of water, 4 teaspoons of liquid honey, 2 teaspoons of pickling spice, 1/2 teaspoon of pickling salt, and 3 garlic cloves cut in half. Plus, you'll need 1/2 pound of jalapeno chili peppers, seeded and sliced. Combine your brine ingredients in a saucepan, bring to a boil, then remove from heat and let stand for 10 minutes. Return pickling liquid to a boil, pour over peppers, and process for 10 minutes. Thanks for joining Jane and I today doing our pickle perfection. We've had a great time today on Put a Lid on It.
Now, Peter Piper might not have had these particular preserves in his pantry, but you'll be pleased to present them.
And they'll be gone pronto.
We want you to try all 4 of those recipes. Fast and easy garlic dills, chili jalapeno pickled peppers. What is that thing we made?
Pickled jalapeno chili peppers
and pickled slices.
And pickled peppers.
We did have a great time, so try those recipes. My daughters are going to be here on our next show to help us make kid food and baby food.
And they'll probably be turning this place upside down.
It'll be a great show. You won't want to miss it.
Now, if you have some extra preserves in your pantry, you might want to take them to an elderly person or a shut-in. They'll certainly enjoy them.
So, see you next time on Put a Lid on It.